12 ordinary men. Fishermen, tax collectors, rebels, none born to be remembered. Their deaths changed the world more than the greatest armies in history. This is not the story of how they died. It is the story of why they chose to die and why what they tried to silence became unstoppable. They lived on the shores of the great northern lake when the herald appeared. A teacher with no rank or army. Only a voice. He called them one by one. Some mending nets, others collecting taxes. One ready to kill for his people. He told them all the same thing. Follow me. And the 12 followed. They walked with him for years and witnessed things without human explanation. They saw him call back a dead man by name. They saw him calm a storm with a single word. They witnessed the betrayal, the execution, and the empty tomb. After that, the 12 were never the same. Something burned inside them stronger than fear. The herald sent them with one mission. Carry this message to the ends of the world. That message had a price. Some were executed by sword. Others hung from crosses. Some skinned alive. None gave up what they had seen. The first martyr came before any of the 12 had fallen. Only 2 years after the herald's execution, the first follower died for what he had seen. His name was Stephen. He was not one of the 12. But he lived with a new fire in his heart that nobody could describe. He spoke with authority that didn't come from rank or education. His words healed something in those who heard them. Crowds followed him. That was enough to unleash hatred. A group from the religious council confronted him publicly and failed. Frustrated, they bribed false witnesses to accuse him of blaspheming against the sacred laws of the nation. They dragged him to the supreme tribunal and accused him with lies. But Stephen didn't tremble, didn't defend himself, didn't plead. He reviewed the history of his people and then pronounced the truth. No closed heart wants to hear. You always resist what comes to renew you. You killed the just one. The tribunal erupted in fury. But then Stephen lifted his gaze and saw something the others couldn't see. The herald was not seated. He was standing, ready to receive whoever arrived. Stephen's eyes filled with light. He said, I see the heavens open and the master standing there waiting for me. The tribunal could take no more. They dragged him outside and began to stone him. A young official named Piers watched with cold detachment. He approved every blow. Stephen gasped, feeling blood on his face. His lips formed a final intercession, not for himself, but for them. May this not be counted against them. Then, Stephen was the first to die for the herald's message, and he did it exactly as the master had. Forgiving. The first of the 12 to fall was Jason, Jonathan's brother, a fisherman from the Great Lake. He was part of the innermost circle of the master. He witnessed a herald call back a girl everyone had given up for dead. He was one of 3 who saw him transformed into light on a hilltop. When the invisible fire descended on those gathered, Jason was filled with new courage. His voice began to resound, proclaiming that the master had defeated Death, the regional governor. Seeking the favor of the religious leaders, chose the most visible, the most courageous, Jason. He was arrested without warning. The sentence was immediate. In the middle of that injustice, something unexpected happened. The soldier assigned to escort Jason to the execution was moved in a way he couldn't explain. That same man knelt beside Jason, declared his belief in the herald's message aloud, and asked to die alongside him. Both were led outside the city. At dawn, the sword fell on both of them. If this moment reached you, the soldier who was supposed to execute Jason, and instead knelt beside him, asking to die with him, give this video a like and subscribe. Tell us in the comments, do you think that soldier made the right decision? Jason's story didn't end there. An ancient tradition says his followers carried his body to the northern shores of the Western Peninsula and buried him in secret. Centuries later, that tomb was discovered and a new path was born. Millions have walked it searching for answers. Jason's blood became a road. Jason was not the first of the 12 to die. The first was Julian, the traitor. He was also called, heard the master's voice, and shared the same cup. In the garden, as the guards approached, Julian stepped forward and with an agreed signal handed the herald over. When Julian saw the herald condemned, something inside him collapsed. He went to return the money. They said, "That is your problem." He threw the coins and died, consumed by guilt. Julian's fall left a vacancy. The remaining 11 prayed and cast lots. The result fell on Marcus. Marcus preached with the same burning eyes as the 11. The religious leaders arrested him and accused him of blasphemy. He was executed where everything had begun. Aldric, Jonathan's brother, was a quiet messenger and tireless. He ran excitedly to his brother. "We have found the promised one." After the herald disappeared, Aldric preached where nobody wanted to go. He reached a western coastal city where his message began to spread. The governor, furious over the conversions, arrested him and demanded he stop. Aldric refused. When they showed him the wood prepared for his execution, he smiled. He said, "For years I have longed for this moment." He made one request, not to be hung the same way as the herald, for he didn't feel worthy. They prepared an X-shaped cross. They tied him with ropes to prolong the agony. For 2 full days Aldric hung there and kept preaching. His voice did not stop. Crowds listened. Some wept, others mocked, but nobody was left untouched. On the 3rd day his voice fell silent and his soul departed. His name was Simon, but the herald called him Piers and told him, "On this rock I will build what nobody can destroy." Piers was the leader of the 12, the first to declare, "You are the promised one," but also the first to deny the master when things got difficult. That night when they arrested the herald, Piers followed from a distance. In the tribunal courtyard he denied knowing him 3 times. When the rooster crowed, Piers walked away weeping. But the master didn't cast him aside. Days later, by the embers of dawn on a beach, he asked him 3 times, "Do you love me?" 3 times, Piers answered, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." The herald said, "Care for my people," and added, "When you are old, another will take you where you don't want to go." Piers understood there was a prophecy. After the invisible fire descended, thousands joined the message in a single day. He carried it to the heart of the empire and founded the community that would resist centuries of persecution. In the year of the Great Fire, Emperor Dorian blamed the believers. The persecution was brutal. Piers was arrested and condemned. He made one last request. "I am not worthy to die like the master. Hang me upside down," and so it was. Upside down, Piers gave his life. Remember the young official who watched coldly while Stephen died? His name was Piers. He was a declared enemy of the herald's followers. He requested permission to travel north to arrest believers. On the road, a light with no visible source surrounded him completely. Piers fell to the ground, blinded. A voice sounded, "Piers, why do you persecute me?" he gasped. "Who are you, Lord?" The voice answered, "I am the herald whom you persecute." For 3 days he neither ate nor drank nor saw with his eyes. For the first time he was beginning to see a different way. Piers devoted the rest of his life to proclaiming the herald's message. The one who persecuted began to proclaim. The one who destroyed communities began to found them. On a sea voyage as a prisoner, the storm lasted 14 days, but no life was lost, just as Piers had announced the night before. On the island where they shipwrecked, a venomous snake bit his hand. The islanders expected him to die, but Piers shook the snake into the flames and kept talking. He reached the imperial capital as a prisoner. Neither chains nor walls could stop him. He wrote letters from his cell and converted imperial guards. From his cell he wrote, days before his death, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept what was entrusted to me." He bowed his neck. The sword fell. James, son of Alphaeus, appeared in the lists of the 12 without fanfare. Known as James the Lesser, he was one of those men who don't need to be seen to be truly great. When the others were sent to distant lands, James stayed as pastor of the newborn community. While others fled persecution, James stayed caring, consoling, and teaching. The religious leaders led him to the highest point of the temple walls and demanded he deny the herald. They offered his life in exchange for silence. James was not intimidated. From the height he proclaimed, "The Master is seated at the Father's right hand and will return in glory." They pushed him into the void. He fell to the ground, wounded, bleeding, still breathing. He got to his knees and prayed for those who had pushed him. May this not be counted against them. A man with a club took his life. Therein chose that name to avoid being confused with the traitor. He preached through arid territories until reaching the kingdoms beyond the mountains. He converted many, even members of the most influential families. The local priests accused him. He was struck with an iron mace and beheaded in foreign land. Over the centuries, he became known as the patron of the desperate. The one forgotten in life was raised in the memory of the faithful. Rowan, before meeting the herald, dreamed of liberating his nation by force. The master didn't call him to raise a sword. He called him to love his enemies. He traveled alongside Theron to those same hostile kingdoms. Both were arrested. Rowan died beside his companion in a distant land with no known grave. Dieth Bailov. His name was Matthew, and before meeting the herald, he was a tax collector. To his own people, he was a traitor. But one day the herald said, "Follow me." Matthew stood up and followed. After the resurrection, he took parchment and began to write. Then he traveled to the southern lands and Africa. One day, while gathering believers, he was surrounded by the local religious leaders. He was stoned or stabbed during the assembly. He died with his eyes fixed in the same place as when he rose from his tax table. His name was Tobias, but the world would know him as the skeptic. When the others said they had seen the herald alive, he responded, "If I don't see with my own eyes, I won't believe." 8 days later, the herald appeared, and Tobias was there. The master extended his hands. "Place your hands here." Tobias fell to his knees. "My master and my God." From that moment, he never doubted again. He traveled farther than anyone, reaching India. While praying alone on a hilltop, he was surrounded and pierced with lances. He died, praying on his knees. Before meeting the herald, Barnett was called Nathaniel. He was sincere and skeptical. When he heard the promised one came from an insignificant village, he responded, "Can anything worth knowing come from that place?" His friend Finn brought him before the herald. Before Nathaniel could speak, the master already knew him. "Here is a man in whom there is no deception." Nathaniel was surprised. "How do you know me?" the herald answered. "Before your friend called you, when you were alone under that tree, I already saw you." Nobody knew what Nathaniel had thought under that tree. Only the herald. Nathaniel fell to his knees, and from that day Barnett never strayed. After the resurrection, he traveled to the western mountain kingdoms and converted many, even members of the most influential families. The local priests accused him. They skinned him alive while his lips still prayed. Then they beheaded him. Barnett died with the same face the herald had looked at one day and called without deception. Finn was from the same northern village where the herald had begun gathering his followers. When the master called him, he didn't hesitate. He ran to find Nathaniel. "Come and see." After the resurrection, he preached in a western city. The wife of a local governor believed and was baptized. When her husband found out, he had Finn arrested. Even in chains, he never stopped speaking of the herald. He was executed proclaiming the master's name. When his voice fell silent, the fire he had lit kept burning. All the others had fallen. Only Jonathan remained, the youngest when it all began and now the oldest. The last witness. He was called alongside his brother Jason while mending nets on the Great Lake. The traditions call him again and again the messenger the master loved most. He was beside the master in the garden that night of anguish. He was the only one who remained at the foot of the cross until the very end. The herald entrusted his own mother to him. "Woman, there is your son." From that day, Jonathan cared for her as if she were his own. After the resurrection, he was the first to reach the tomb and the first to believe when he saw it empty. He was also arrested and persecuted. They threw him into a pot of boiling oil before a crowd that expected to see him scream and die in flames. But Jonathan didn't scream, didn't die, wasn't even burned. He came out completely unharmed. The Empire had no idea what to do with him. They exiled him to a desolate rocky island in the middle of the sea. There, surrounded by solitude and ocean, while praying on the rock, he heard a voice like a trumpet. "I am the first and the last." Jonathan stopped. His heart raced. What he saw then was not the herald he remembered from the lake. It was something glorious, eternal, radiant, eyes like living fire, voice like the sound of many waters. Jonathan fell to the ground. A hand rested on his shoulder, and the voice said, "Do not fear. I am the living one. I was dead and I am alive forever." In that instant, the heavens poured out their complete message. He was instructed to write everything he saw, and Jonathan wrote the final book of the sacred record. He received visions of the judgment of the powers that had tried to silence the message, the fall of the empires that had tried to destroy it, and the new city where everything broken would be rebuilt. The exile ended when the emperor died and his successor allowed the exiles to return. The believers received him with tears and joy. He was the last living witness of the master. He never stopped teaching. His hands trembled. His feet could no longer support him. They carried him in their arms, and when everyone gathered, he always said the same thing: love one another. A young disciple asked him, "Master, why do you always say the same thing?" Jonathan smiled. "Because it is the herald's commandment. If you only fulfill this, it will be enough." One night, Jonathan, nearly 100 years old, closed his eyes for the last time. The last witness departed in peace, surrounded by disciples. He was the only one of the 12 who died of old age, and he left the last line of the sacred record: "I am coming soon. Amen." Yes, come. The grace of the Master be with you all. Thank you for making it to the end with the 12. If this story reached your heart, if it moved you to see how ordinary men chose to die rather than silence what they had seen, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which of the 12 marked you most. See you in the next story.